Greetings. Let me introduce you to a sequence of 3 DVDs which are concerned with the issues that surround expanded secondary schooling in low-income countries. These 3 DVDs explore issues to do with the current status of secondary schooling and participation at that level, issues to do with finance and sustainable models for much greater levels of access, and lastly, approaches to planning expanded access. Why is this important? It's important at this point in time for a number of reasons. The first and most obvious is that many developing country governments are committing themselves not only to 9 years of basic education, but to 12 years. And certainly by 2030, if that's the horizon for the next range of international development goals for education, the majority of countries will have ambitions to provide schooling at least to the age of 16 and many to the age of 18. This creates a whole set of new challenges about how to afford this, about how to plan it, about what kind of curricula and what kind of specialised courses may be on offer for older students, and questions about how to keep those students interested in acquiring more knowledge and skill. Those challenges then will be fairly universal and will affect most countries. But what is the position at the moment? Well, the position at the moment is that more than half the children in low-income Africa don't succeed in completing lower secondary schooling successfully. This is also true in many of the North Indian states and some other parts of South Asia. There's a long way to travel to ensure that every child experiences lower secondary schooling through to the end of the completion of a basic education cycle. It's more than that. The children who are in secondary schooling are overwhelmingly from richer rather than poorer households. Secondary schooling is very divisive in terms of poverty. The only solution to that is to increase levels of access and to make it more affordable to those from low quintile households. But perhaps more important than either of these things is the kind of cognitive chasm that becomes apparent when we look at data on assessment and achievement. It's not enrolments in primary school that differentiate high and low performing countries these days. It's enrolments in secondary school, and it's enrolments coupled with levels of achievement. Average students in many poor countries on tests of 15-year-olds' capabilities are performing at levels below those of the lowest quintile students in OECD countries. This represents several years of schooling difference in terms of acquired capability. If we look within countries, we also see very large differences covering the equivalent of 6 or 7 years of schooling between top performing students and low performing students. In rich countries, the differences are much less. This speaks to the development agenda and the ability of a country to make full use of the potential of all the next generation of children and adults. So status of the existing participation raises a number of questions about how desirable expansion of secondary schooling is and the kind of problems that we may confront in pursuing that goal. Financial issues are clearly important. In systems which historically have developed in a selective way with a minority of children enrolled and which have been directed more towards selection, more towards the ability to get a job than the ability to do a job, then squaring the circle of how to finance expanded participation and to ensure that children from the poorest households take part is the central dilemma for the next decade. With that brief introduction, it's time to give you an opportunity to view the 3 DVDs in this series. Thank you very much